In 1942, the Jewish population of Poland was largely exterminated. This came about as a result of starvation and diseases in ghettos, mass shootings and above all by mass murder in 4 specially designed camps at Chełm nad Nerem, Treblinka, Sobibor and Bełżec. This murder operation was theoretically top secret, but news of it did get out. Nonetheless, it took the liberation of Majdanek in July 1944, Auschwitz in January 1945 and various camps in Western Germany in 1945 to bring this to the attention of the public. Courier and resistance fighter Jan Karski made it to the United States in 1943, where he met Felix Frankfurter, a prominent member of the United States administration who had been appointed to the Supreme Court. Frankfurter, himself Jewish, whose parents had immigrated to the United States from Austria in 1894 and who had probably had family murdered by the Nazis, said that he did not believe that the Jewish population of Poland was being systematically murdered. Later, Frankfurter stated, "I did not say that he was lying. I said that I could not believe him. There is a difference." The Advocate is a local newspaper in northwest and western Tasmania. It's been on the go since 1890. Today the newspaper is published by Australian Community Media, located at 39-41 Alexander Street, Burnie, Tasmania. The reason I chose the Advocate is that Tasmania is just about as far as anyone could get from the killing fields of what is today eastern Poland. I found the following article on the bottom half of the front page of the issue of the Advocate, which was published on the 26th of November 1942. It specifically mentions the names of the death camps at Treblinka, Bełżec and Sobibor. Now I quote. The Daily Telegraph correspondent at Jerusalem, quoting the Palestine Post, Geneva, states that Jews in Europe are no longer being persecuted, but systematically exterminated. Heinrich Himmler, chief of the Gestapo, has decreed that the extermination of half the Jewish population of Poland must be completed by the end of 1942, according to information received by the Polish government in London. The Germans have mobilized special battalions under the command of SS men to exterminate Jews in Poland. Victims are caught in the streets, taken to a cemetery and shot. Others are loaded into goods trucks at the rate of 150 to a truck normally intended for 40 people. The floor of the truck is covered with a thick layer of lime sprinkled with water, and its doors are sealed. The trains are left on a siding for several days. The occupants of the trucks are packed so tightly that some die of suffocation. These are left inside the trucks together with those slowly dying from the fumes of lime, chlorine and lack of air, as well as water and food. Those still surviving are sent to special camps at Treblinka, Bełżec and Sobibor, where they are mass slaughtered. By the end of September 1942, the Polish government states that 250,000 Jews had been eliminated under the guise of resettlement to the east. Of 443,000 Jews living in Warsaw in March 1942, according to German statistics, only 40,000 are still left there. Whilst 130,000 ration cards were issued for Warsaw in September 1942, the number issued for October 1942 was only 40,000. The entire Jewish population of Germany, Austria and Czechoslovakia, numbering more than 1 million people before the war, is being liquidated rapidly. Many Jews from France, Belgium and Holland are also falling victim. Jews everywhere, except in Italy, Sweden, Hungary and Switzerland, are in the process of annihilation. Events include the recent German machine gunning of 24,000 Jewish men, women and children who were taken from Riga, stripped and mowed down and being forced to dig their own graves. The Jewish Agency, in addition, instances the systematic extermination of Jews from Polish towns. Since Himmler visited Warsaw last spring, 1,000 Jewish children aged people have been murdered wholesale. Over 27,000 of 30,000 Jews from Kielce were killed or disappeared during deportation, and 1,500 Jews were burned alive in a synagogue in Białystok. The Times correspondent at Stockholm states that Quisling's finance ministry has announced that the confiscation of Jewish property in Norway will be carried out by declaring all Jews bankrupt. Jewish firms will be wound up unless the position of non-Jewish employees is jeopardized, whereupon trusted Quislingites will be made receivers. Jewish shops will be sold at public auction and rationed commodities redistributed. The Stockholm Social Democraten states that another 14 Czechs aged between 22 and 30 have been executed for helping Germany's enemies and opposing the new order in Bohemia. I accept the fact that that is a little bit disjointed, but the very sad thing here is that we now know that almost everything here reported was true. Obviously, the Advocate did not do the research itself, and it's quoting its sources, so it did get the information from third or possibly even fourth-hand sources. The question is, what could the Allies have done about it? And I think that's a subject for another time. However, one point I would make is that the reason often quoted for believing that the Holocaust was not actually happening was due to the exaggerated claims of killings that took place during World War I. Certainly, mass killings did take place, above all in Belgium, of civilians in the opening weeks of that war, but those massacres were stopped within a month or so. Nonetheless, the Allies continued to repeat them and repeat that the Germans were continuing to kill. This is an example of how making up stories can lead to deaths. I do need to point out that the copy of the article I had was not completely legible, so I may have misquoted the text in parts. However, if I get a copy of the text, it will be in the description. I hope you found that interesting. I upload videos every Friday at 2000 hours Central European time. My subject matter largely relates to the Nazi period, but I also do things occasionally related to communist crimes and recently on crimes committed by the Putin dictatorship. If you're interested in this sort of thing, then please subscribe. Thanks for listening.